Hi, welcome to Talking Burma. Talking Burma is a podcast series by the Burma Canadian Association of Ontario. My name is Napas, and I'll be your host for the second ever episode of Talking Burma. Talking Burma was initiated by the Burmese Canadian community to explore the amazing lives, stories, and work of people who are from Burma. Stories from Burma as a whole are generally untold, so we're looking to change the narrative and bring these stories to the forefront. The story we're bringing today is through our special guest, Aung Myo Min. Aung Myo Min is the Minister of Human Rights for the National Unity Government of Myanmar. The National Unity Government, or NUG for short, was formed shortly after the Myanmar military enacted a coup in 2021 against the elected government. This coup sparked national outrage, protests, boycotts, strikes, and condemnation. In response, the military brought violence, oppression, and suppression. Today, the country is in a civil war between this Myanmar junta regime and various pro-democracy forces, including the NUG, in alliance with certain ethnic revolutionary organizations. The formation of the NUG led to the formation of the country's first ever Ministry of Human Rights. Aung Myo Min is not a career politician. Throughout his life, he served as an activist, an NGO worker, and was a student battalion soldier in the 1988 revolution. He received his education in Columbia University and became the first ever LGBT activist in Burma's history, and now is the first ever LGBT minister in Burma's history. I was very lucky to be able to catch Aung Myo Min for this podcast recording in Toronto in early May 2024. In this episode, I was able to ask him about his life, his journey, his aspirations, and all things politics and personal. Before we begin, I'd like to thank the Ziebling Lab for providing the studio and the MyPack Hub at the University of Toronto for making this event possible. Without further ado, here's the conversation we had with Aung Myo Min. So, we're gonna get into a little bit about your life and how you've ended up to where you are today, fighting in the revolution. We're very thankful that you are able to join us today. So I have about 11 questions to ask you. None of them too political, but mostly about your life and how you've come to where you are today. So, do you have any points or anything to say before we start?
No, I'm very excited to tell my life story rather than politics because everybody know about my political careers and position. But it's, sometimes people don't know what is my personal life before that, the position of the Minister for Human Rights. So very excited.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone wants to know about your politics, but nobody wants to know about who you are.
Yes.
Yeah. So for the first question, I would like to know, tell us a little bit about your life in Myanmar before you got into politics. I understand you got into politics in 1988, but what happened beforehand?
Well, 1988 is very important, period. That because that special moment, I turned into very politically activist. So before that, I was just a university student, very simple life. Regular university student, study English literature at a Yangon University. So my life is reading all the literatures, drama, poems, prose of the, that English literatures. So life is just very, very normal. Going to university, having friends, and also working some kind of volunteer work as the Myanmar Red Cross, and also joining some other campus-based activities. But the time is not political activities because the time was under the one-party socialist party. So no other politics than learning about how good the military how good the one party system was. So just a normal, I didn't have any ambition after the graduation even. The life is very simple. So after the graduation, I thought I'm going to be teaching English in university or finding any job which is appropriate for my careers.
Why did you choose English literature?
Wow, this is a funny stories of our education. In the how can we say that in the high school graduate, we have a very funny way of choosing your majoring. That depends on the total marks, total score of the high school examination. So I got a distinction in English literature.
Wow.
And also that's why, I and my total numbers, the score did not reach to the other institutes, like higher institute, like a medicine or technology. So it's I'm at the art and science, categories. But since I got the distinction, I applied for the English literature. But it was the first year they introduced their new systems. Myanmar, we have every experiential learning of the education. So this year, new system. Next 2 years, another education system. But I got a chance to enroll at the English literature in this period.
Oh, I see. So it wasn't really your interest. More so you were...
Yeah, not interest, because it's not a special interest for any subject in the time. Every university can go and graduate to find a job. Sometimes the degrees you achieve from the university did not match, the career you are given. I saw many English literature students went to overseas to find another job. So this is not, the education system was very not accessible for your right careers even after the graduation. Mm-hmm.
What happened in 1988?
1988, it started with the students' riot from the Rangoon Institute of Technology. That's some kind of argument with the university student from Yangon Technology University with this other youth from the neighboring neighborhood. But what it did is that by the riot police, who brutally suppressed the kind of that argument between university student and the youth in the neighborhood. So they killed it. They killed the many a couple of students from Rangoon University. But on the next day, the story was not exactly revealed. They portray in the news that students are kind of troublemakers, and then the riot police intervened peacefully, and because of the accident, one student died in that kind of intervention. But actually, it's caused by the riot police brutal killing, shooting into the crowd, and that caused one student. So, but many people, even myself, I'm not very much political activist before. We know what happened, but the story was wrong, and then they portray the university student as the troublemakers. So we call for the true stories, true news, what actually happened, and then we call for the investigation of the death of the students of the Rangoon University, and then it started with the student campus activism against the military.
Oh wow! So where were you in that moment of time?
So I was at my Rangoon University. The first incident occurred at Rangoon Institute of Technology, which is different from my university, but then.
Continue.
But the news spread all across the campus. So students, gather and inquire about what happened. So that the student getting crowded, and then talking about this, the what happened with our fellow student in Rangoon Institute of Technologies. So I was in the Rangoon Institute, Rangoon Art and Science University, which is the main campus of the Rangoon University.
And were you out protesting as well, or did
Yeah. But actually, it is not a big protest. It was a student gathering, at our own campus.
Oh.
Because we want to get the information, we want justice and the truth of the death of our fellow students.
Right.
And then students gather at the main road, we call Adipati Road of Rangoon universities, and the students gather, and it was very peaceful. And students just, give a speech. Some students who witnessed the last night incident took on the street and telling what actually happened. That make many people more angry because, we found the truth, but the story is a lie. So we calling for the investigation. And then we start thinking about how education system was wrong and why the students are treated like that way, and calling we start calling for student union, which never been, allowed in the one-party system. So it's students get united, asking about the student affairs.
And what was the response from the government?
Yeah, the first 3 days it was peaceful, and we decided to get out of the campus to move to the Rangoon Institute of Technology when the first incident was taken place. So we went out, all students. Many students just came out from the classroom, went out on the street. But on the way to the Rangoon Institute of Technology, our student group is about 500, 600 students on the street were blocked by the riot police at the front. And then at the same time, another riot police, blocked from the way back. So we are caught in the middle of two riot police columns, and they start beating up on the peaceful demonstrators, mostly women, girls, university students. And then this is the first time I saw bloodshed.
Wow.
With my eyes, the witness of how bloody the riot police take action on the peaceful demonstrators. So many of them were arrested and taken into the truck and then taken to the prisons. Later, we found that, these about 40 students are suffocated in the truck and die while they were on the truck way to insane prison.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the response from the students, the other students who were protesting? Yeah,
right after that, the government declared indefinite closure of the universities because they think students were dispersed and they could end up the student protest in this way.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm from Mon State. So we were given a free ticket back to home.
Oh.
Right. It's the first time we got a student, government sponsored trip.
Oh my gosh.
But within a day we have to get back, to go back to home, and this is a kind of interim arrangement by the government, with hope that protests were dispersed and end up. But actually, that make our protest stronger because we witnesses the brutality of the riot police. Mm-hmm. So we are the good informant when we return back to the communities and meeting with the other universities students. So it's getting organized. So, and then from the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation News in Burmese, one student gave interviews about what happened to the students, and also some of the students who were rounded up and spent time in insane prisons. So that make a lot to the whole country. And then the news call August 8th of 1988 is a call for nationwide uprising against the one-party systems. So 8/8/88 is happened after the student protest in Rangoon University. But on the August 8th of 1988, the whole country joined with the students, and there was a nationwide, people uprising, calling for democracy and human rights and against the one-party system.
And you were in Myo Min at the time, right?
Yeah, I was in Myo Min because, my hometown was Myo Min, so I got back to my hometown.
So from what I understood from the readings, this is a very surprising moment for this dictatorship government. I believe it was the Ne Win government at that time, right?
That's right.
And then the year after he was ousted?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the government was very surprised that the people were rising up in protest against them.
Yeah, that's true. Students in Myanmar always take a leading role to spearhead the peaceful protest and against the one-party systems. Since between 1962 to 1988, but always the government, one-party, government led by Ne Win, used violence to crack down on the students, and no massive people uprising, come out. So at the beginning, the students, protests were brutally suppressed, and it ended up. But 88, the August 8, 88, the people joined with the students, and it became the first ever, people-led uprising calling for democracy. That is really shock, to the military, because they think they could use the violence before it, the people uprising, and they underestimated the people to join with this time with the students and double down the one-party system.
What happened after for you?
Well, I was one of the prominent leaders, strike leaders in Myo Min. We set up our strike center in the Buddhist monasteries, and we make a community mobilizing and organizing trip to other townships in Mon State. So between August 8 until September 18, when the military staged a coup, there's everyday protest, and we were able to change the president, 2 times, and then we have a great expectation we would change the government, but on the August 18 of 1988, military declared the coup and used violence against on the peaceful demonstrators. So many of my colleagues in Yangon, Mandalay, and other cities were brutally, killed while they are on the streets against the military coup in 1988.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear. And for you, did you stay in Mon State?
Well, I spent 3 days, right after the military coup. I was in hiding because I was on the top list of arrests.
Yeah.
But continuing our, the conducting with the other friends in other cities. The time, we don't have good communication system. No telephone lines for everyone, no mobile phone, no email. Yeah. So difficult to communicate, but we tried to communicate as much as we could, and we decided, to leave the country, to continue our struggles from the border, under the control of the ethnic resistance organizations.
So you only stayed, when you were sent home, you only stayed for 3 days?
No, 3 days after the military coup
after the military coup.
In September. But I stayed, from March to August, we did underground organizing with the other fellow students in Myo Min and also Mon State, and get organized for the August 8, 88.
What was that decision like, of essentially leaving your family? Did you think you were going to come back very soon?
This is a really, good question. So my mom was in Yangon. So I'm in Myo Min. When I decided to go to the Thai-Burma border to continue my struggle, I leave a short note at my place in Malmö. Said, Mom, I decided to continue my struggle. It would take only 1 week.
You told her it would only take 1 week?
Yeah, I thought, it's the student, young student who never experienced that kind of politics movement.
Yeah.
I said, just 1 week, Mom. 2 days to go to the border and taking military training for 3 days and another 2 days back to Myanmar. So I said only 1 week. That is really so it's really how funny it is, how I think of the long struggle of changing the government and bringing justice to the people. It would take 7 days. Yeah.
So that 1 week actually, that was the longest week.
Yeah, longest week. And, I spent 23 years in exile after this, August 8th. So my mom, when we reunion again, he said, your 1 week is really long. It's cost 23 years. So this time, when I decided to continue my struggle as a minister, I will never see it 1 week again.
Do you see a lot of parallels between when you were young, you saw that there was what you believed to be an opportunity to essentially bring democracy to Myanmar, and you thought it would only take 7 days. You were full of energy, and there's a lot of energy around you, I imagine, at the time. And you went out to the jungle to fight. Do you see a lot of parallels between you and what young people are doing in Myanmar today?
Yeah. One thing is, we have a big, commitment for the people. Mm-hmm. And then the time, what is similarity with me and now the many young people is taking up arms to fight against the military. Mm-hmm. But it is not we want to kill the people, but it is we want to defend. Mm-hmm. The people, we have experienced the brutality and violence with arms by the arms group of military. Mm-hmm. So we want to take up arms and defend and fight the military. That's why I become a student army, student guerrilla, taking up arms, military training by the ethnic organizations. Now, currently, again, the many young people are taking up arms and joining the People Defense Forces to take armed struggle is one of the strategies to take over the military in power.
So you did end up joining the ABSDF, the All Burma Student
Democratic
Front.
Mm-hmm.
And you were in Thailand at the time, I believe. Is that right?
Thai-Burma border.
Thai-Burma border.
Yeah, but technically it's inside the country of Myanmar, but controlled by the ethnic resistance organizations. So first I went to the area controlled by the KNU, Karen National Union.
Right.
And we set up the students' camps along the border under their territories. And then I was transferred to Moon area by the All Burma Student Democratic Front at the time.
So tell me about your time in the jungle, essentially, right? You've never been to the jungle at that point in your life, right? To that area of the world.
It's the first time. Yeah, it was the first time.
Yeah.
So coming out from the university classroom to the jungle immediately, you can imagine that, So
there wasn't much English literature there.
Nothing there. Shakespeare's gone, Bernard Shaw gone. Everything is the jungle life, and not enjoying literature, but find a way of survival.
Right.
That is the first thing we learn it in the first week. In our one camp, the Tibopo camp, which is also one of the biggest student camps. It's about 6,000 young people.
Wow.
So the local people, welcome us. It's great appreciation. And they treated us as much as they could. But feeding and, providing, the shelter for 6,000 young people from different part of the country, it's not an easy job. We understand how hard it is, but the local people provide a great help for us. But after 1 month, we decided to set up our own camps by ourselves. It's the first time, we need to look for the place and finding all this, the building materials for barracks and start building ourselves. So many of us, experience of survival in the jungle. But also, some young people don't know. This is the first time they being out from their family. Mm-hmm. So great adventure. And that's the dream come real situation, how to survive and live in the jungle. So also, after 3 months, for me it's after 2 months, malaria strike us.
Oh my gosh!
There's so much malaria-prone area.
Yeah.
People got malaria, and then we set up our own hospital to treat the malaria and other disease students. So it was a hard time when you got sick. First experience in jungle, away from the family without any communication. It is a first, experience, for us to being away from the family and your loved ones.
So, how did you feel in those moments? There were no cell phones at the time, so you couldn't really contact home and tell mom.
No.
Ask for an extension.
Yeah. No Wi-Fi, no email, and no proto mail for everything. Nothing there. So that's why some of the young students decided to return back after some times in the jungle. But we committed to stay continued because we don't want to surrender. Yeah. On the fight that we believe it is the right thing to do for the people. So we continue that. Then I was transferred to the Foreign Affairs Department of the ABSDF.
Wow.
So I was moved to work in Bangkok office of the ABSDF. But, I'm so sad to see that young people and some of our friends die in the jungle because of malaria.
Yeah, that's really sad. In your story, you somehow ended up in Columbia University in New York City. How did that happen?
Well, I started working on human rights documentation of the atrocities by the military.
Right.
Military, after the coup and military, stage offensive operation against the area where we stayed there. Right. Usually, before the coup, only in the dry season, the military came and make a kind of all violence operation against a civilian, and they retreated when rainy time comes. Mm-hmm. But after the coup, they make a all-out offensive military operation and occupied the areas traditionally controlled by ethnic areas. That drive thousands of ethnic people from Mon, Karen, Nishan, to become refugees in Thailand. Mm-hmm. So I start documenting the cases of these human rights violations and work for the Amnesty International for their situation report. That's how I get involved. So when I was working at the Foreign Affairs Department of the ABSDF, my friends who I worked on the human rights recommended me to study at Columbia University. So I got a chance to go there. So first, it was a big decision I have to make. Mm-hmm. I know that there's a great opportunities to study human rights at one of the prestigious university. But at the same time, I didn't want to leave my colleagues.
Right.
And who are taking same position of commitment and dealing everyday struggle for the people.
Yeah.
But many of my colleagues encouraged me to study and return back with the knowledge and experience I gained from the university, could greatly contribute to our work and advance my careers working as a human rights advocate at the time. So I decided. So the first time it was for the 3 months course on study of human rights programs. But then later I was able to try the master program on international affairs under the School of International Public Affairs of Columbia University.
Wow. What would you say were the main differences between your understanding of education, or at least even your understanding of politics when you were in Burma, and your understanding of politics after you left Columbia University? How would you compare the education systems?
Well, you can imagine that, how education system in Myanmar when I was before the, military coup in 1988. So we didn't even have a chance to choose the careers that you want to. Everything is decided by the education system, depending on the total score of the high school. So, and also education system, you have no chance to study what you want, even in your classroom. It is the doctrinization of the Burmese Socialist Party, how good the government, how bad the others, So, this is the education systems. But in the university, the first day I talk about, when professor came, he started talking. So I thought, he would give a note, or he would give me some kind of things to note it down or write on the whiteboard.
Right.
But then, even at the end of the day, I have nothing, noted on my notebook. It's more on the discussion and also reading assignment to things. I didn't realize that this is the education, new education in the other countries. So I was surprised, that learning and talking with the professor and the group discussion, and you have the freedom to speak and discuss in the classroom. Classroom participation is very important, and reading your knowledge, your book, that's a reading assignment. It is quite different from Myanmar. So I was a bit, educationally confused.
Yeah. Well,
culture shock and education shock at the time. But I able to, upgraded my understanding on the education systems and teaching methodology. So I was able to read it. But the only good thing for me is I have a really practical and groundwork of human rights situation in the country. Yeah. Only what I need to update it is, from my real job from the ground with the, the international standard of human rights and, thinking and also debating on the human rights situation. So I was able to catch up.
I'm told by some students from Burma, from Myanmar, that when they come here, they're a little bit shocked that they're not told by the teacher what to think. They're told. They tell me that when they're taking like history classes or social science classes in Myanmar, that the professor or the teacher tells them, this is what you're supposed to say about this opinion question, right? You're supposed to answer with this opinion, and this one will get you the marks. But in Canada, they don't tell you that, and they're always like, why didn't they tell me what I'm supposed to say? But it's actually more about critical thinking.
Critical thinking. This is, especially in our time. Yeah. The new generation might be more critical thinking because, some education reforms made after 2010s. There's some kind of reforms and teaching style promoting critical thinking. Our time is one party system, one education, one teachers, and you have to learn by heart.
Right.
It's really rote learning, Yeah. And so tell exactly what teacher, your professor or your teacher told you. Wrote it down everything as he or she, instructed.
Yeah. That was a shock for you at Columbia, I suppose.
Yes.
But you were doing critical work on the ground in Thailand.
That's right. That's right. I have so many case studies.
Yes.
I have so many things to tell, Sometimes what is missing how international standard, could apply to the real situation. So things like that, that I could contribute from my lifelong, struggles and work on the human rights and my interactive experience with the people who learn human rights from their own experience.
So you were in Colombia, and you had the option to either stay in the United States or go to Thailand. Is that right?
Yes.
They didn't force you to go back.
No. Yeah.
But you chose to go to Thailand.
Yeah.
Instead of having I suppose, easier, comfortable.
Yeah, you would say that life in New York or US would be comfortable, but I never feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Because I feel guilty sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And also I want to return back to the communities and areas where people need, to make actions for the system of military or one-party systems. Mm-hmm. And I feel guilty when I'm taking some kind of privilege as a student in New York. I always think back, my fellow students, friends who are in detention or our people who I know are in the refugee camps without any chance for their own life opportunities.
Right. So how did, tell me about going back to Thailand. What did you do when you went back?
Well, I joined the ABSDF.
So you
rejoined the ABSDF.
Okay.
Yeah, rejoined it because this is my passion and I always proud to be a member of ABSDF.
Yes.
So, but I could do more on that, with the other, knowledge and experience I gained from the university that improved my role as the member of ABSDF and engaging with more international organization systems and also making kind of, our friends to understand what is actually human rights means.
So you're oftentimes cited online as the first openly LGBT activists from Myanmar.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's true. Since 1988.
So how was that like for you in a society where I suppose it wasn't very open at the time?
I know myself,
Mm-hmm.
since I was in Myanmar study, but because of the conservative traditional culture environment, I was not brave enough to reveal it.
Mm.
But in that jungle, I tried to hide it, my sexual orientation, but study and learning about human rights. I think myself, I'm the human being.
Mm-hmm.
I belong to my human dignity, and this is my right, and nothing wrong for being LGBT people.
Right.
I want to prove it, not just telling the people. So I declare it. I'm an open gay man. Life is not easy in the jungle for being a man, or the homosexual people at the time. But I take a steps, firm confirmation, to reveal my sexual orientation because this is time to declare it. So a lot of challenges, but I keep emphasizing and try my best to take the role given by the organization. I make a kind of a role model, The LGBT peoples are as strong as other. We are the state part of their society. And then we can also the good forces for the democracy movement. So that's how I encourage myself to be first open gay man and also make some kind of role model with other people. So many other people, follow my steps. So I'm really proud of that.
Was it hard being the first one?
Yeah, that's a lot of attack, personal attack for being a gay man, and also some kind of discrimination for my role in the leadership, and also sometimes there's always challenge. Am I strong enough or capable enough like them? So I have to work 3 times harder than the regular member. First, to accept me as the LGBT and to recognize me as the LGBT who is also the member of the organization, and to recognize me as the LGBT for the movement.
Mm-hmm. When was the first time you were able to go back to Myanmar?
If you count from 1988, exactly 23 years after I left in 1988.
2011?
2012, 11, 12,
Yes.
the time. So it was the first time I got a visa to return to Myanmar.
And this was during the liberalization period.
Kind of,
right?
quasi-liberation.
So, period.
Liberation led by President U Thein Sein.
Right.
So they also, this is the one of their PR, saying that because they make it, claim the country is opening up, moving forward to Burmese way to democracy. So that the exile activists like me returning back home is for them is even this the lifelong activists
right
able to return home, and so this is what they want to make there for their public relations PR.
Were you
issues.
suspicious? Like, did you have some mistrust about this military-led party?
Yeah. I don't trust.
Yeah.
The government, or the so-called civilian government, who is back from we know that because military is always behind the scene and back in power. But I take a kind of risk because I really want to go back.
Yeah.
See the situations
and
find a way how could I contribute back in my own country for protection and promotion of human rights. That's why I left Myanmar, and I always ready to go back to work on that. So I take it. When they give a visa, the minister at the time then come and observe the situation in Myanmar. I say that I don't want to come back to my hometown to observe. I want to go back, work for the people, for human rights. So I take a decision. But, there's a big kind of, so-called, nobody knows what happened. So at the beginning, I was followed by the intelligence.
Oh, wow.
Everything is, on recorded. I'm the surveillance. In the surveillance by the military intelligence. But I decided to stay longer and decided to return and work on the human rights situation. So I'd stay there.
And that's where you stayed until even before the coup, right?
Yeah. So I spent 9 years with the document issue from the other countries. I was not fully citizen back. But right after I returned, the first time I returned in 2012, I find a way out to neutralize, myself and reclaim my citizenship.
Okay.
It took 7 years.
Wow.
With that, but just 2 years, 2 or 3 years before the coup, I was able to retain my citizenship. So I surrender my first, foreign, document issued by foreign country, got the Myanmar citizenship back.
Okay, and you can only have one citizenship.
Yeah,
in Myanmar.
No dual citizenship is allowed. So I have to surrender the previous status and retain my citizenship back. But only 2 years, I lost my citizen again after this military coup.
You were only a citizen for 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But 2 years, and I feel proud. I'm back to my country. And I was able to vote for my first time in the year 2020 elections. Because this is one of my dreams.
Yeah. Wow, they did not really give you that opportunity. Where were you during the coup?
Well, I was in Yangon. Actually, I supposed to go to India for my medical follow-up. I have my kidney transplantation 1 year before the coup. So I'm ready to make another follow-up for that. But I want to be there when new government is formed. So I was there waiting for the new government that I voted would in place, and then I decided to go after that. But, I was in Yangon. But unfortunately, instead of seeing the new people elected government, military staged a coup. I was in Rangoon. I was in Yangon. As long as I heard the stories, I prepared my best based on my own experience in 1988. So I definitely think that I was on the list of arrest.
Oh, right.
Because of my, stand for human rights and also my, the people, everybody know me. So I prepared 2 bags. 2 bags? One is one bag, 2 bags. One is the small medicines and small clothes. If I got arrested and taken to custody, that's a small bag. Another big bag is, preparing for maybe, 1 week, 2 week, trip somewhere. So if I got caught or arrested immediately after the coup or when I was trying to find a way, small bag is ready to go with the police for the things. But if another bag is ready, if I got a chance to escape from that, so as soon as I had it, I pack 2 bags, ready and drive, on my car. I have no word. I don't know exactly where to go.
Right.
But finally, I found a place of secret hiding.
Okay.
The coup, and then so I was able to escape.
Right.
From Myanmar to other neighboring countries.
Oh, I see. So, were you very surprised, or did you kind of expect that a coup was going to happen in 2021?
Well, I didn't expect the coup would take place. Because military is in power. Yeah, right. They stay in power according to the constitution. Mm-hmm. They stay in power according to their role, So also Aung San Suu Kyi has been using as a shield to protect the atrocities of the military. Mm-hmm. So I didn't think the military would be stupid like this. But it taken place. So but they make their mistake of taking the coup like this, and they still making a mistake of killing the people and using violence as usual.
Did you see almost kind of like flashbacks to 1988?
Yeah. The flashback is that I never underestimate the power of people of Myanmar. Yeah. They always in right position, in right action to fight any injustice and dictatorship in the history of Myanmar. I know that the people will rise up like 1988. And it's true. But, in 1988, it was led by the university students. But in this Spring Revolution, the whole generation of young people started on the street. So that is really big, similarities and also some kind of differences between 1980 and the Spring Revolution in 2021.
Tell me about the lead up to becoming the Minister of Human Rights in the NUG. Did you apply for the role? Did they ask for your resume?
Do you think so?
No.
And I'm ready to. I want to be a Minister of Human Rights. I want to be a cabinet. Before I was appointed, I always say that, my students, my friends, and you won't see me in the cabinet or in the government because I don't like that kind of, position, that kind of formalities. Right. I was born to be an activist and defenders for human rights. So I don't think I could fit and I would have a chance to join the government. And some people, strong advocate me to be to run in the elections, become a member of parliament. I said no, never, never, never. But this time I got a request by the cabinet to take a position of Ministry for Human Rights. And I say that no way. First. But later, this is a time that it's a time of emergency.
Mm-hmm.
It's a time of, struggle. And the position, I trust myself. I could do that. I want to do that. And also, I'm capable to do that. So I decided, if they offer me other position, rather than human rights related position, I would never take it. But I decided to take it because it's a time of crisis. It's a very important and crucial job.
Yeah.
And also I need to prove that I love the country and take a position and responsibility by the people. So I took it. Do you think I still enjoying that? No, actually not. But I have to take a position.
Yeah.
For the interim revolution period.
Yeah.
When the times come, I will definitely leave. Enjoy myself as myself.
Your private life. Yes. But now is the time.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of worries at the beginning? Like not only are you taking on this big role, you're taking on this big role in a government that was just formed.
Well, I have a worry about my health.
Right.
I was not that healthy. I have a kind of, the chronic, disease.
Mm-hmm.
So like a kidney transplant and other things. So my concern is my health, that maybe I'm not capable to take my duties as I should. So then that's the only worry. The other things, human rights, my commitment, and my friends who ready to help me for implementation of this job, I have no worries.
How has your time as the minister been? What are the challenges? What are your successes? And what do you see going forward?
The Myanmar's human rights situation is always bad reputation.
Right.
Always issue of, military atrocities against all people of the country. So taking a position will be huge, tremendous, responsibility for me to take for protection and promotion of people during this kind of, interim movement. And also, it's the first time ever having Ministry of Human Rights at the union level.
Right.
So I'm not sure how could I take up, start from the beginning to set up the government ministries and taking that growth that I've never experienced. So that's some worries. But good thing is, I can start it, my own, strategies, and also, find the way of how to make best service to the other ministry for the movement. So this is how I've been working on that. So decided to take 3 areas, actually 3 + 1, 4 areas. One is documentation of the evidence for accountabilities. Second, engagement with the international government or international organization for policies, how to stop military, how to support their democracy movement. That one, integrating human rights principle to make sure that all the laws, policies, and programs of the democratic forces are in line with international standard. And fourth one is building culture of human rights by providing right information and human rights program for the people. So that is the 4 areas we decided to work on that.
I think that your ministry has made very historic changes in the little time that you've had recently. for one, you are the first openly LGBT minister in a Myanmar cabinet. Secondly, you have initiated talks and even statements committing to the human rights of the Rohingya people.
Mm-hmm.
Thirdly, you have implemented the first cabinet position of a Rohingya person in the Myanmar cabinet, Aung Myo Min,
Mm-hmm.
right? And fourthly, you're taking on a role. You're essentially creating a whole ministry from the ground up, with no resources, right?
Yeah, still no resources.
Still no
Yeah.
resources. Many governments don't even have ministries of human rights,
Mhm.
right? And now you have a government that is starting up and fighting a war at the same time, advancing a human rights agenda. So I think that is really formidable in of itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
Do you see what do you see like going forward, like big projects or big plans for the ministry? Or I guess, like, to put it better, what is your ideal vision of what the Ministry of Human Rights will be at the end of the revolution and then at the beginning of a transitional government in Myanmar?
Yeah, my how can we say that? I don't want the Ministry of Human Rights exist forever,
Yeah.
but I want to have a more stronger, human rights commissions,
Right.
which is not part of the ministry level, but not under the government.
Mhm.
So I want to see more independent human rights institution rather than Ministry of Human Rights,
Right.
and that commissions that institution have more independent,
Mm-hmm.
position on human rights and more engagement with the people and monitoring, bringing justice of the crimes or human rights violation, and make everyone responsible for all the actions. So that is my dream. So my exit strategies is, stronger human rights culture with the independent human rights institutions that could take more independent, impartial, the protection of human rights in the country.
And once this is all over, you plan to go on vacation.
I will go back to my civil society life.
Yeah.
So I take a break
Yeah.
by changing the careers from government ministry to human rights defenders
Right. Yes.
on the ground.
Yes. I think you say you will take a break, but I think people will always want you back.
This is a challenge I'm facing now. People have a great expectation on me and my ministries. So sometimes I'm so tired,
Mm-hmm.
but I cannot say no.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Taking a break is not going to the beach or enjoy. Taking the break of going back to my real colors.
Right, yeah.
You have feeders. It's because it's big burden me in the road that I don't want, but I have to.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end. Before we end, would you like to share any messages to our audience? Our audience is mainly based in Canada, and it's incorporated of both the diaspora and also people who work on Myanmar issues outside of the diaspora.
Well, I'd like to thank you for everyone who stand for democracy and human rights and finding the way of working to change the military dictatorship to democracy in the country. No matter wherever you are, no matter what color, what ethnicity you are. Liberation from military and building a federal union is for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So please, continue your great effort and great work to make changes in the country and to get organized, seeing the struggle of democracy for everyone, struggle of human rights is for everyone, and you can be part of the movement by all means possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of our podcast today. I'd like to once again thank you, Minister Aung Myo Min, for joining us today. It's really a pleasure to have you in Toronto, in Canada, joining us in this podcast studio. We'd like to thank the MyPack Hub for helping to sponsor this event at the Zibling Lab studio at the University of Toronto. And we'd also like to thank the Burmese community here in Toronto for having us host the minister and his team for this talk today, and also our meetings here in Canada. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I think that's the end.
How long it took?
I think that was about 50 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of the BCAO's second ever podcast of Talking Burma. We'd like to once again thank Minister Aung Myo Min for joining us gracefully in Canada and in Toronto for this podcast, along with meeting with the entire Burmese Canadian community. And we'd also like to thank our team at the BCAO and our community for making this podcast happen. To our listeners, if you'd like to listen to more of our work, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or on your favorite podcast streaming app. Follow us on social media and check out our website at burmacanadianassociation.ca. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.